That bullshit guy, I hate him.
What do you think is going to happen in that Gaethje Paddy fight?
Justin, sometimes he fights so good, sometimes so bad. I hope Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. Hopefully, he's gonna overstrike him on the feet, and then Paddy gonna try to wrestle him, and he's gonna defend his wrestling and win by decision. Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you. I mean, I want him to win.
Everyone keeps saying Justin is inconsistent like it's some harmless flaw, but inconsistency at this level isn't random. It's trauma resurfacing at the worst possible moment. It's a man who knows exactly how close he's been and exactly how hard the fall felt. And when people joke about whether he'll party or focus, they're missing the darker question. What if the version of Justin that shows up is the one who knows this is the last door and decides to kick it down even if the building collapses?
Ilya or Paddy? I mean, the fight not happening. It's Justin or Paddy now. Paddy got to get past Justin. Justin's a tough fight, bro. I don't know. A lot of people sleeping on Justin on the Paddy fight, which just makes me ridiculous.
Tony Ferguson didn't talk about punches or takedowns for a reason, because scars don't show up on tape. They show up when the lights hit and the walk feels longer than usual. And when Tony talks about those failed title shots, he's not predicting a loss. He's warning you about a mental explosion that could either unlock something terrifying or freeze everything. And here's the thing that keeps me up. Justin hasn't said a word to deny it, not one.
You think Paddy's going to beat Justin Gaethje?
Easy.
Wow,
Easy.
really easy?
Yeah, easy.
That's a crazy thing to say because Justin Gaethje's a fucking animal.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to grapple, and Paddy knows
But
that.
he's a Division I wrestler. He knows how to grapple. You don't think he knows how to grapple? He just chooses not to.
Did you ever saw him submitting someone?
I don't believe he's ever submitted someone, but I think that's because he likes to just crush people.
Everyone likes is to dominate people and to win as soon as possible. If you have the ability to submit someone as soon as you can, you would do it.
I think Justin Gaethje's mindset is to be the most violent person alive. That's one of the reasons why he lost some fight, because he took on this.
Paddy, on the other hand, walks into this like the universe owes him something. And that confidence is dangerous in a way people don't understand. Because when you've never tasted that kind of pressure, you don't flinch. You don't hesitate. You improvise. And that's why veterans hate fighting rising stars. But what if this rise was accelerated on purpose? What if the path was cleared a little too clean? And why does nobody want to talk about who didn't get this shot?
Paddy's not bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again, Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness, in my opinion.
Din Thomas said it quietly, but it landed loud in my head, because when he brought up Arman, he wasn't analyzing styles. He was pointing at the ghost in the room, the guy who did everything right and still got skipped. And that's where this starts to feel dirty, because Gaethje isn't just fighting Paddy. He's fighting a system that decided this was more profitable, and systems don't like being embarrassed. Trust me, they don't.
Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje fighting for the interim title. Whoever wins that fight will move on to fight Ilya. And I don't think that there will be a title defense for the interim title. If I was to guess, if I was to bet, there will be no title defense of the interim title. I think that the next fight for whoever wins between Paddy and Justin, I think their next fight will be Ilya Topuria. So I do not think they will defend the interim title. So good movement and clarity at 155 pounds. I feel for Arman Tsarukyan, but this fight's going to be incredible.
Here's where the paranoia kicks in, because every time someone confidently says the interim belt won't be defended, it sounds less like prediction and more like a plan. Like this fight is just a bridge to something else, and bridges get burned after you cross them. So ask yourself why everyone is already talking about the next fight when this one hasn't even happened yet, and who benefits if this ends fast, controversial, or broken.
Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, who do you favor in that fight?
I gotta go with Gaethje. I feel like he's the one that loves to get down and throw fist for fist, and he's also got the Division I wrestling to negate some of the biggest skill sets of Paddy. Paddy's like a very dominant grappler when it comes to submissions. I think Gaethje has the tools to keep it where he wants it.
Volkanovski saying he can't go against Paddy anymore should scare you more than hype you, because champs recognize momentum the way predators recognize weakness, and when someone keeps winning despite logic, it means variables are being introduced that don't show up in spreadsheets. But Volk also paused before he said it, just a fraction, and that pause screamed uncertainty, like even he knows there's a detail missing that's gonna surface later and blow this wide open.
That night 8 years ago, it's like the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that fight with Justin. that I'm glad it's over and I never want to do it again. I'm like, the fans don't ever ask for a rematch or anything like that, because that would have never. I'm like, I'm glad. He's unique, man, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So like, but if you want to beat Justin Gaethje, you have to. So he's a forward fighter and a pressure fighter that he will stand in the pocket, and he's gonna throw everything he got in that pocket. If you don't meet him, you'll get chewed up. So Paddy, the way to beat a guy who like does this, very violent, aggressive pressure fighter, you have to meet him. You have to throw when he throws. So you got to be brave, and you have to go when he goes in between his shots. If you do that, you got a fair shot. If you don't do that, if you're not brave and courageous and throw when he throws in between his shots, it's going to be a really long night. It's going to be a hard night for you.
Wooly Reda Faber talked about chaos like it's a home Justin built with his own hands, and that's accurate, but homes get old, foundations crack, and when someone younger walks in without fear, they don't respect the walls, they test them, and I can't shake this feeling that Gaethje isn't worried about losing, he's worried about being used, because spoilers don't get rewarded, they get erased, and that's a dangerous headspace.
They're not even, like, they're just basically saying Paddy's more popular, you're getting it over Armin.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? And that's, I mean, God, I hate like how I kind of get into this too much, but I mean, that's really like, that's the definition of, you know, a monopoly where a single promoter owns the title and the rankings. And it's not a good thing for the sport, in my opinion. And I have to question what it's going to do for the longevity of the sport. You know, I don't think in the short term it's really going to make a big difference, right? Like, you know, it's going to sell the next fight, right? It's going to sell the next pay-per-view. But trends tend to come and go, right? Fads tend to come and go. At some point, like, you know, to have staying power and lasting power, I think it requires, you know, a meritocracy-based system. It's going to require, you know, some, you know, if you want to bring in guys like Armin Tsarukyan or Movsar Evloev, I always mess up how I say his name. You know, you want to bring in these Olympic wrestling level guys. I mean, they don't want to have to go out there and put on some ridiculous show to become a champion. They don't want to have to go on Instagram and start a podcast and make a, you know, whatever kind of skits on social media and this silly kind of stuff. Like, they just want to be a world champion because they want to be the best athlete. And that's what makes me wonder how the staying power is going to be, right? When you're dealing with guys that are, you know, legitimate athletes that want to be legitimate athletes, and they're getting passed up by guys that are entertainers.
Eddie Alvarez knows that pressure better than anyone. And when he warns about training partners, he's really warning about illusions, because you can fake chaos in a gym, but you can't fake the moment your lungs burn and the guy in front of you smiles. And here's a little secret people forget. Justin drags you into places you didn't plan to visit, and once you're there, the map doesn't matter. But what if Paddy wants to go there too?
You know, I'm not looking to grapple, but I have no issue, you know, with the grappling department, and my ability to keep people from taking me down is second to none. So he's going to have to, you know, compromise me with his punches and kicks and knees, and then, you know, if that happens, then he'll have a better chance. But this is such a crazy game, you know, you just never know. Maybe I'll suffer.
When fighters say they never want to do that again, it's not trauma talking, it's respect mixed with fear, because surviving Justin changes you. And that's why I keep circling back to this insane idea that this fight might not be about winning at all. It might be about who survives the narrative afterward, because one guy walks out crowned and the other walks out questioned, and questions linger longer than losses.
It's an honor to get in the cage with him and fight him, but I feel bad saying it because I've said it already. I think I'm going to retire him.
Is that where you think he is in his career? You think he is?
I think he could be on the verge, on the precipice of retiring. He said himself he was going to retire if he didn't get a title shot. So when I beat him, he's not going to get another title shot, is he? So
Charles Oliveira saying Paddy shouldn't trade is obvious on the surface, but terrifying underneath, because when veterans all agree on the same danger, it means they felt it, and yet Paddy keeps smiling about standing and trading like it's a statement, like he wants to prove something to someone specific. And I'm telling you right now, that urge doesn't come from confidence alone, it comes from believing something about your opponent that the rest of us haven't seen yet.
And I've never had a war in all my years of fighting, so I'm looking forward to one.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, of course. Always want one.
So you never had a war, you want to start it by doing it with Justin Gaethje?
Yeah.
Where's your head at, man?
It's firmly screwed on my shoulders, lad, but people are laughing at me when I'm saying I'm going to stand with him, but I am. People think that I'm just going to shoot in the first 10 seconds. I'm not. I'm going to stand with him, and I'm going to put it on him, and people are going to be like, wow, we weren't lying. He's more of a boxer with leg kicks, and I'm an MMA striker. I don't do just boxing or Thai boxing or kickboxing or taekwondo or karate. I'm an MMA striker, and you'll see that when I fight.
Matt Brown calling out the system wasn't bitterness, it was frustration leaking through, because when merit gets bent for momentum, the sport doesn't break immediately. It bends slowly until one night snaps it, and if this fight ends in controversy, the fallout won't hit the cage first, it'll hit the rankings, the matchmaking, the trust, and that's when fans start picking sides hard. And the UFC hates that more than anything. So here we are with Gaethje openly saying he'll derail the hype train, and Paddy casually talking about retiring him like it's already written. And both of them smiling too much for this to be simple, because someone is lying, someone is overplaying their hand, and something about this entire setup feels rushed, misaligned, and fragile. And when that cage door closes on January 24th, it won't seal answers, it'll crack open a bigger problem that nobody is ready to name yet. I keep replaying that moment when Justin Gaethje said he derailed the hype train, because that wasn't trash talk. That was a man acknowledging he understands the machine he's standing in front of, and when someone like Gaethje says that with calm eyes, it tells me he's already accepted the villain role, and villains either get crushed publicly or they expose the strings. And the UFC doesn't forgive the second kind easily. Paddy Pimblett smiling through all this is either the bravest thing I've seen in years or the most reckless, because confidence like that usually comes from ignorance or insider belief. And I don't buy that Paddy is ignorant, not with the team around him, not with the way he talks about standing with Justin like it's a personal mission, because fighters don't choose danger without a reason they trust deeply. Ilia Topuria's absence still hangs over this, like a shadow nobody wants to mention too loudly. Because every interim belt creates a narrative fracture, and fractures are where politics leak in, and I can't shake the feeling that Ilia stepping away didn't just create opportunity, it created urgency. And urgency is when promoters make choices that look smart short-term and explosive long-term. Tony Ferguson's psychological warning keeps echoing because Tony knows what it feels like to be promised something repeatedly and never receive it. And when he talks about emotional weight, he's not speculating, he's confessing. And that's why Gaethje carrying those past title losses matters more than any stat, because history doesn't disappear. It waits until the lights are brightest to reintroduce itself. When Din Thomas mentioned Arman Tsarukyan, it felt like he was pointing at the quiet elephant in the room, because merit-based fighters watching this matchup aren't angry, they're taking notes. And when elite athletes start believing the path isn't fair, they stop trusting the system, and a sport built on legitimacy can't survive too many moments like that without consequences spilling over. Alex Volkanovski hesitating before backing Paddy is the kind of detail casual fans miss, but fighters don't, because hesitation from a champion usually means he's weighing instinct against experience. And when instinct says one thing and experience whispers another, it tells me this matchup is violating patterns, and broken patterns are where chaos breeds fastest. Julio Faber talking about chaos like a familiar language for Gaethje made me think about wear and tear, because chaos ages you faster, it sharpens you, but it costs you, and when someone younger steps into that environment willingly, they either get baptized or they change the temperature entirely, and I don't think anyone truly knows which way Paddy leans yet. Eddie Alvarez's warning about training partners wasn't technical advice. It was existential, because you can't replicate the feeling of Gaethje deciding mid-fight that pain is optional. And if Paddy hasn't felt that specific brand of pressure, then his confidence might evaporate fast. But if he is prepared for it in ways we don't see, then everyone assuming disaster might be the one caught off guard. Charles Oliveira liking Gaethje to win while explaining how Paddy could become champion felt honest in a brutal way, because Charles knows how thin that margin is, and he also knows how quickly a fight flips when one decision goes wrong. And when former champions speak like that, it tells me they sense volatility, not certainty. Matt Brown, calling out the promotional angle, isn't bitterness. It's frustration from someone who watched the sport evolve away from purity. And when veterans start publicly questioning priorities, it means private conversations have already gone sour. And those undercurrents tend to surface violently when a controversial fight outcome gives them an excuse. Justin openly embracing the spoiler role feels intentional. Like he knows if he wins clean, he forces uncomfortable questions. And if he loses, he validates a narrative that was already prepared. And that's a brutal position to be in mentally, because either outcome costs something beyond the result, and fighters feel that weight even if fans don't. Paddy talking about retiring Justin isn't arrogance to me. It sounds like someone repeating a thought until it feels real, because saying it enough times turns pressure into purpose. And purpose can carry you through moments skill alone won't, but it can also blind you to danger you think you've already solved. The respect between them worries me more than fake animosity ever could, because mutual respect removes hesitation, and hesitation is sometimes the only thing keeping chaos contained. And when two fighters genuinely admire each other, they're more willing to test limits, and limits are where careers change permanently. Every time someone says this fight will clarify the division, I almost laugh, because clarity rarely comes from situations built on compromise, and interim titles are compromises by design, and compromises usually create more questions than answers, especially when the winner is already being discussed as a stepping stone instead of a solution. I can't ignore how often people talk past Gaethje like he's already a chapter closing, because fighters sense that disrespect even when it's subtle, and disrespect fuels some of the most violent performances in MMA history. And if Justin feels written off, he might decide to remind everyone why fear existed in the first place. At the same time, Paddy's momentum is real, not manufactured, because you don't accidentally keep winning at this level. And momentum changes how judges see rounds, how refs intervene, how crowds react, and those tiny external factors stack up. And pretending they don't matter is dishonest. The idea that this fight won't resolve anything actually feels accurate, because resolution requires consensus, and there is no consensus here. Only camps, only beliefs, only expectations waiting to be broken, and when expectations shatter, they don't fall quietly, they explode outward. I keep thinking about the fans who will walk away convinced something was stolen no matter who wins, because that's the energy around this. Suspicion baked in before the first punch, and suspicion poisons legitimacy faster than bad judging ever could, especially in a sport that already fights perception battles. January 24th isn't just about who raises a belt, it's about which story the UFC commits to protecting afterward, because damage control always reveals priorities, and priorities expose truth, and that truth might not be flattering for everyone involved. So, yeah, I'm unsettled because this feels like the kind of fight that doesn't end when the bell rings. It echoes, it lingers, it forces reactions, and until we see how the aftermath is handled, I'm not convinced the real explosion even happens inside the cage at all. The ending is already written, and it's ugly because one of these men leaves UFC 324 with his legacy cracked, the belt poisoned, and the division on fire. So rewind with me right now, because you don't get this chaos unless you understand how Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett turned from a fight into a ticking bomb that nobody wants to admit they lit. And if you think this is just another interim title scrap, then nah, this can't be real. Not with the whispers I'm hearing, and the pressure stacking like bodies at lightweight. I want him to win, yeah, but that sentence feels illegal to even say out loud right now, because the moment this matchup got announced, the air changed, fighters went quiet, analysts started dancing around words, and suddenly everyone's pretending this is normal when it's not. This is a fork in the road where one outcome deletes years of work and the other one exposes something the UFC has been hiding right under our noses, and if you don't feel that tension, then what are you even watching? This fight exists because the champion stepped away and people are acting sympathetic on the surface while sharpening knives underneath. Because when Ilya vanished from the calendar, it didn't just open a slot, it exposed how fragile the entire power structure at 155 really is. And here's the part nobody wants to say yet, but they will later. Someone knew this was coming, someone benefited, and that interim belt suddenly smells less like gold and more like leverage.